What is up, guys? Wolfgang here. So today I want to talk about the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Now, I've been using the Fold for about a month now, and I have some thoughts I want to share. Now, real quick, Samsung is not sponsoring this video, so these thoughts are my thoughts alone, and let's get into it. So the first thing I talk about in my videos is always the design. Now, I currently have a case on it, but the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 follows the same design that the previous folds use, and as a matter of fact, it hasn't changed much since the Fold 4, which isn't necessarily a negative. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What they did do is move the flash from down here to over here, which enables some MagSafe accessories to work better. But aside from that, really, everything else is just the same. I have a leather debrand sticker on it, that's why it looks different. And I won't be removing this one because it does use an adhesive for this side. What is nice about the new design is that now the device closes completely flat. So as you can see here, it is pretty much completely flat. It would be better if I took off the cover, but like I said, I don't want to do that. Now, on both the outside and the inside, it is a very unusual aspect ratio. So for this, I want to use the calculator app as an example. And while it is closed, it's actually a pretty good remote-sized aspect ratio, so it's really nice for one-handed use. It's easy to reach everywhere. However, it isn't the best for typing, and when trying to type, this keyboard is pretty small, especially for anyone with larger fingers. It's pretty rough. Now, is it enough? Yes, you do get used to it after some time, but if you're going to type anything longer than maybe a sentence, opening it up is a lot better. It makes things a lot easier to type. It is like typing on a small tablet. So that is something to keep in mind. It's not exactly one-handable, even with the one-hand keyboard mode, which I've pretty much removed from here because I don't like those modes. But what I have learned is that swipe typing on the larger keyboard is actually amazingly good. It sounds weird because swipe typing is made for one-handed use, but it works really well. So I recommend you give it a shot if you have a Fold. Now, to show some video content, I will be using a video from TechLink. This is yesterday's video, and this is just to show the aspect ratio itself with normal videos. So when it's closed and in portrait mode, it looks terrible, but if you set it to landscape mode, it looks better. It's not perfect, it's not great, but it works, especially when you want to kind of like tilt it towards you a bit. It works, it's good enough. You can zoom it in as well, but you're losing a lot of content from the top and bottom, so I recommend not to. But if you really want to, that's an option. And then when open, there's, the two different aspect ratios. So when it's open in like portrait mode, it's a really nice size if you want to be reading comments or looking at other videos here in the bottom. And when you do this sideways, or landscape, it'll do the whole, make theater mode sort of a thing, or I don't think it's called theater mode, but anyways, it'll kind of split the screen as such. And to make it larger, well, you got to do the full screen. You can tap and do this thing, but I learned to swipe it and it makes life easier. So if you want to look at that, try it out on your phones or tablets. Anyways, here, this is kind of like the video experience you want, or at least mostly, because this is definitely as large as the video will get. You can zoom it in as well. I don't prefer to zoom it in to not lose any side content. You do have some pretty large black boxing on the top and bottom, but I mean, this is larger than a phone, so I'm honestly pretty happy with it. And depending on the content you're watching, if it's super narrow content, it might look the same whether you use it on the cover display or on the inner display. And for some specific content, it might look better on a normal candy bar phone because some of them are taller or narrower per se. So it might look better on a traditional candy bar phone, but it's not always the rule. 16:9 content looks better here, and that's no questions asked. Talking about how it looks, we're talking about the displays already. One thing I want to remark, which I don't think many videos have mentioned, is that this tablet or phone opens to portrait mode in comparison to the Pixel Fold, which opens more to a landscape mode. Why is that beneficial? Well, a lot of applications are already optimized or already able to fit well in a large portrait size, but not in a large landscape size. So depending on the application, it'll look good or bad. And another benefit of opening into portrait mode is that this feels more natural to use, either one-handed, or I guess you really shouldn't one-hand this, but it feels more natural to use regardless. It feels more like a normal phone rather than using sort of like a tablet itself. Now, it is a different use case and we'll talk about it later, but I prefer this aspect ratio. All this time, while watching videos from the Fold 4, Fold 3, and to the original, I always thought that everyone was lying about the crease, that you would eventually forget about it. It sounded impossible to me. I just turned off extra dim and eye care. The point is, I always thought that the crease would never be invisible and you'd always see it. But the truth is, when you're actually paying attention to your content, it disappears completely. And it's crazy because, like I said, I always thought it was fake. But no, it's really good. For example, when watching a YouTube video, you'd assume this would be the better aspect ratio because, the crease goes through less content. But for me personally, doing it this way, I don't know if you can see it well on camera, but when you're paying attention to the content and, there's not an extreme amount of lighting in your room or wherever you're watching it, it disappears completely. So all you have is a larger screen and you can enjoy your content. I've always been a large fan of Samsung because of their screen technology and color science. I personally love the saturated colors. There's some people who don't prefer it, and I'll show some content here. And it might be hard to see on video, but if you know Samsung or you go to a Samsung store, you'll see they love to show off color a lot stronger than normal or than it looks in real life. And that's something I personally do enjoy. I love seeing those saturated colors. Now, if you're trying to do video or photo editing on your phone, there is a setting to make it more natural or more accurate. But for me personally, this is just the mode you want. If you're buying a Samsung phone, just leave it there, please, and enjoy it. But yeah, it really depends on your preference. Now, this device is so versatile, I am thinking of doing a one device trip. So just taking this for both content and daily use. Normally, I would want to take my tablet as well, just to make sure I have things to do after, exploring or whatever. But this device can fill all those gaps. Of course, it isn't a perfect video watching experience, but it does fill in good enough to entertain me. Real quick, going into the cover display, we already talked a little bit about it, but I wanted to talk about it a bit more. As I said, it's very good for extremely quick tasks for one-handed use, but for more longer task things, you'll want to open it. One thing I do very commonly is when I get a notification from a new video, I'll, scroll down or, bring the notification panel down and hit the watch later. That's really good to do with the cover display. And then once I'm going to watch the videos, I can open it up. Now, one big gripe I had with this phone is with the covers. So I bought a couple covers. I bought the S Pen cover from Samsung. I bought a couple cheaper ones on Amazon from off-brands, and they work. All of them work for sure, but the edges for the cover display were always very tall, so it would make reaching the corners of the screen pretty tough. And this is already a tough screen for typing, so typing A or typing Q or typing those far away keys or on the edges was pretty difficult until I found the later case. And this is not sponsored, like I said, but this case is amazing. I think it's the thinnest case it's definitely the thinnest I've found. It might be the thinnest out there. I'm not 100% certain, but all the cutouts are well done. And it's a thin case, a very, very thin case. And it actually provides a lot of protection for the cameras. Me personally, I don't prefer that much protection, but I understand, some people, that's the reason they buy a phone. So if that's you, then this case is pretty good for covering the cameras and does an okay job at protecting the rest. It is very thin, so I wouldn't say it's the best case for protection, but it's more than what I need. I normally don't drop my phone. Touching on the last point I want to talk about with the screens is the outer display versus the inner display. And for this, I want to show a video from Shane Craig, or show some clips from him. I really recommend you watch the video because he talks a lot about it. And the reason I think this design is better than the Pixel Fold is because the Fold, I guess that will become confusing. So the Pixel Fold really allows you to use the outer display a lot and not really touch the inner display until you want to watch a video perhaps. Instead, the Galaxy Fold pushes you to use the inner display, which everywhere is mentioned that the inner display is the main one. This is the cover display. Maybe not with that wording, but that's the idea. Now, of course, the outer display's aspect ratio does suffer to make the inner display experience much better, but making the inner display so good, I honestly do not mind having a not perfect, okay outer display. Now, one quick way to summarize this point is that the Pixel Fold is a normal phone that you can open up and make larger. The Galaxy Z Fold 5 is a large phone that you can make smaller. Now, however, I do want to clear out, I do enjoy different aspect ratios existing, as you know, it gives a lot of variety to the field of foldables. So I hope Samsung continues on with this one. I hope Pixel continues on with theirs, and I hope there's a couple different ones that come out of all of the fold craze. The next thing I want to talk about is with the launcher. So everybody's, you know, showing tutorials and stuff about the One UI launcher, and well, me personally, I didn't really care about the One UI launcher. It works well, animations are beautiful, but my one problem with it is gestures. So I really like doing stuff like double tapping to open YouTube, or double tap and slide down to open up Google Podcasts, double tap and slide up to open up SmartThings. And I have swipe up for WhatsApp, but I don't want to do that, and swipe down for YouTube Music. These kind of things are essential for me, so that's why I didn't really care about the One UI launcher. Now, Nova Launcher, which is the one I'm using here, it works. There are some issues though. There seems to be a refresh on the home screen when you are changing your screen size. So for example, if I do this, you can see there's a black screen and then it loads. And then if I open it up, same thing, black screen and then it loads. And this time I did it twice. So that is one issue it has. I've been able to do some of the gestures while it's in the black screen. So that makes, you know, my productivity not go down, but it's something to keep in mind if you want to use Nova Launcher on your Fold, just to keep it in mind. I'm hoping they do an update soon. They don't currently support foldable phones, or, you know, having separate home screens, which I don't think I would personally do, having a different home screen for the open display and a different one for the close or the cover display. But I'm hoping they'll add new features for foldables in the future. We'll see how that goes. Now, I do lose some features. For example, the dock that shows up here at the bottom of your screen, you cannot use that if you don't use the One UI launcher. And for me, that's okay because I use the Edge panel a lot. So this kind of replaces the dock, but it is a really nice feature that you can always access and switch applications or add them into a split screen view very easily. So if you enjoy that, it's definitely worth trying out the One UI launcher to try the whatever it's called thing at the bottom. For me personally, it's not necessary. So next up, I want to talk about the battery. I expected, since this is a larger screen, that this would have pretty bad battery life, but it actually surprised me. Now, I am recording this video in the morning after charging it a bit, so this won't exactly say how much my battery lasts normally. As you can see here, there was a charging cycle there. But the point is, this battery life surprised me quite a lot. I would definitely say it's a remarkable battery life. It is able to last quite a long time. So I come from a S22 Ultra, which is actually recording the video right now, so that's why I can't show it as a prop. But the point is that the S22 Ultra at best would end my day with 25%. The Fold 5 with, you know, using my extra dim display from 5 p.m. to, I believe it's 8 a.m. and of course using the light processing mode, and a pretty good mix of use between the inner display and the cover display. This thing has been able to end my day with 50%, which means it would very likely be able to last 2 days of use. Now, I haven't quite done that because why would I personally? I do have wireless chargers in a couple places in my most frequently used areas. So, you know, with my computer, there's a wireless charger. At work, there's a wireless charger. So there's no real need to, you know, even think about having 2 days of battery life. But having the comfort or the ease of mind that this can last me 2 days if I need it to is just marvelous. I enjoy that. Now, I did buy quite a couple accessories for this phone. I wouldn't say they're necessarily essential for the best experience, but some of them add a lot to it. So the first one I bought was the leather sticker from D brand. Now, it does mess up some cases, or the fitment, you know, for the hole for the cutouts for microphones and stuff. But personally, I do enjoy having this texture on the back. Now, currently, I don't really ever use, or I don't really feel the texture on the back because I'm always using a cover on it. That's because I want to get comfortable with the phone. Then later on, I might consider using it caseless, which I know will be a pain because of the adhesive on these covers. And by the way, all covers for the Fold use an adhesive here on the left, so just get used to it, or keep that in mind. But anyways, yeah, I bought that leather sticker for the back, as well as it covers the area around the cameras. It's nice, I'd say, and fortunately it doesn't interrupt this case. For some other cases, it does become a bit of an issue. You might feel the case bulging a little bit, or feeling a little bit more loose than it should. But well, for my case, it's working, so it's fine. I also bought the Samsung S Pen case. It's pretty nice. This S Pen is pretty slim. It's a bit more comfortable than on the S series. So here I have my S22 Ultra's pen compared to my Fold pen, and you can see, or maybe sort of see, that the Fold's pen is just a bit longer, perhaps like half an inch or so. It does feel more comfortable to use in the hand, and now this pen you can only really use with the inner display. The outer display does not have a digitizer for it. I don't know why, but in the inner display it feels, it functions well. You can draw on it with it. You can write stuff. It has the button on it, so you can, do stuff like delete, for example. In drawing apps, it'll normally delete. You have to hold it. You can navigate with it as well. I do enjoy navigating with it sometimes when I want to be very specific about what I select. But regardless, yeah, the S Pen works pretty good. You know who you are if you want it. If you're curious about it, probably don't get it. But the people who have had Note phones in the past, or the most recent 2 or 3 Ultra phones that have had it, you know who you are, so you can buy it. My one issue with the case itself is that it's a bit thicker. Everybody talks about it being very thin, and you can wireless charge through it and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. It's a thicker case. So let's see, gotta remove this again. Not a huge fan of taking this case off. But it's a thicker case than the later case. So here we go. So you might be able to see it on camera. Oh, I guess this side. So you want to look at where the cutout is for like the buttons. You can tell it's definitely thicker, as well as with the cameras. Here there's like no extruded protection per se. The cameras kind of lay flat with the cutouts. Here, you have overlaying protection on top of the camera. And yeah, it's just a thicker case. It's not that big of a deal, but if you're looking for the thinnest, definitely the later case. I also bought a cheap case, which was my first test for the MagSafe adapter, and it works well. I have it hidden somewhere. I don't know where it is, but basically it's just a cheap case I found on Amazon, and that didn't smudge as ugly. So I bought a couple of them, and a lot of them smudged, except one, which is the one I kind of kept around while I received the later case. Now I have the later case, and I'll have the other one just as a backup. And of course I bought the Spigen MagSafe adapter. Now this was specifically for one accessory, but I did end up buying another accessory that I've kind of kept around because I do enjoy it. I've never been a pop socket nor, ring kind of guy, but having a MagSafe one is actually really nice, I gotta say. I bought the more premium Spigen one that has the thing for iPhone continuity stuff. I think you can see it there, but it's like a mount for the laptop. I don't use it currently. I don't even have a laptop, but the point is that having the magnetic ring, being able to remove it and put it back so easily, is kind of nice. I've actually enjoyed it, and I normally don't. But it's nice for when you're trying to snap a quick photo or something, or you want a bit more grip. The other day I was in a picnic and I laid down for a bit, and I still wanted to use my phone. So instead of having to grip it really well, I was able to just kind of hang it off my middle finger and use it comfortably. So yeah, this thing has been a really nice addition to my tech arsenal. Of course, currently I can only use it with one phone, but it's really nice. I really can't say anything negative about it. It's all positive. And now, the reason I got into the MagSafe game is because of one accessory from Rhino Shield. Now, Rhino Shield's a pretty good cover company. They make cases for phones, but they've now made a bottle that has MagSafe. Now, I forgot to bring the bottle this weekend, and I really want to release this video as soon as possible. So I might have some B-roll. I might show some pictures from their page, but the point is that the bottle has a MagSafe ring on the top of it, so on the lid, and a hard pivoting sort of stand function. So why I was, this is the first thing that made me jealous of iPhone, because that's a really nice idea. Why I love the idea is, having, not necessarily at home, because here I have the tablet as a secondary display, but when I am out and about, specifically at work is where I'm using it most, I like to have some background content. So it can even be just music, it could be a podcast, it could be a video. I really enjoy being able to, magnetize the phone to the bottle and then have it right beside my computer monitor. And it works really well, especially when the bottle's filled, because when it's empty, it's a bit, what should I call it? Unstable. It still works. It still works. It will hold your phone, but this is a heavy phone, and it's a little bit worrying. So I would recommend to use it with a full bottle. And lastly, I bought a battery bank. I mostly bought it because I didn't really trust in the Samsung battery, but well, I was proven wrong pretty quickly. I bought it from Anker. This tiny thing is 10,000 milliamp hours. It has a screen, and it does support 25 watt fast, or I believe it's super fast charging for Samsung phones. I wish it supported 45 watt, but the truth is that basically the Fold only supports 25 watt. So yeah, it wouldn't really add much to my experience for this to support 45 watts. It would be good for a quick top off on the tablet, but the tablet has an 1100 milliamp hour battery. This has a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, so not really a good idea to charge the tablet with this. But for a quick backup for my phone, it's an amazing battery, because it's about twice, it'll give me about 2 charges, and that's more than what I need. One accessory I did forget to mention is, well, this thing. Now, just looking at it straight on, it's a bit hard to know what it is, but really quickly, this is a simple mount for the airplane seat. So you can mount this hook on, different parts. It can either be on the closed tray table, or it can be in some planes they have like a seat, or on the top of the seat part where there's space for papers and stuff, where they put the safety information. You can hook this on there, and then to mount your phone to it, and yes, there is some thunder in the background if you can hear that, but to mount the phone to it, you just put it in there, and well, you gotta tighten here, and there you go. So it's pretty, it works, I'll say that much. It's not perfect, it's not great, but it works, it does the job. So here you can hook it onto, depending on what the angle is that you want to mount this, you may have to loosen it a bit, then hook it on, and then tighten this part as much as you can to make sure it stays safely. This works for my Samsung Fold as well as my Tab. However, the Tab was just barely on there, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it works. Now then, getting into price, it is Samsung, and it is a Fold, which is, how long has it been around? For like 5 years, I guess? It should be cheaper, I'll admit. I would love it to be cheaper than it is right now. The Fold 5 itself, buying it now without any discounts, without any offers or limited deals, Samsung is selling it for 1,800 bucks, which is very expensive, and I think you're still missing tax in there. So that's a bit of a pain. Now, they always do have pretty good trade-in deals. I was able to, or I had the option to trade in my S22 Ultra for $1,000 off. I didn't do it because I wanted to have a good backup phone that would also have a good camera. As well, these aren't the best. Yeah, I wanted a backup phone, so I kept the S22 Ultra around. And Samsung always has good trade-in deals, so if you have an old phone you want to trade in, you can keep it in mind. I ended up buying mine for $1,500 because of the pre-order pricing, and I got some better deals on my other products, which I'll be making videos on soon. You know, some foreshadowing there, but yeah, it's been amazing. Now, starting with my annoyances. So the first one I want to talk about is the camera. I don't understand why they're charging $1,800 for a phone that does not have their best cameras. I don't know the specs, because like I've said, cameras only really matter to me for YouTube. Most of the time I just need something decent to take a picture of, you know, my family or whatever, a mountain or etc. Which I don't need nothing too detailed. I just need it to look good. But for videos, I don't know why this is not the best camera they have and they're charging that much. I wish the price was lower. Another, small annoyance I have is for the outer display, as it might be difficult for some to use. For example, my dad has even larger fingers than I do, and it might be difficult for him to reach, like the Q's and L's of the keyboard. I guess it is sort of part of the experience, I guess. Swipe typing might solve his issue. It's just something to keep in mind. I wish Nova Launcher was optimized or had folding phone features. My last annoyance is with their flex mode. So they like to advertise it a lot. And the idea is, you're on a table and you don't want to hold your phone, but you want it to be facing you. You can do this sort of a motion and it'll, kind of act like a laptop sort of a thing. So from the side, you can see it's like kind of tilted back a bit. They promote it a lot. I think it's silly to use. I don't really find much use in it because, your content becomes pretty small. And I've never really... I guess it could be useful to use these buttons down here and always have them accessible. I've never cared about them. So one solution I did find to my annoyance is you can swipe up to make it full screen. However, it does still stay centered. So it's kind of not looking at you in the best angle. And so one thing you can do about it is, just use another application. So in this case, I'll use my calculator. Reshape the applications. So, the calculator is unusable and the rest of the phone is looking at a better angle at you. It's still not amazingly great because there's still some content in the crease and there's some content on the bottom facing upwards. So yeah, it's not perfect, but you have the options if you want to use them. And I believe it can be disabled, but I believe YouTube, even if it's disabled, will always show this. So just keep that in mind. Now, I know this was a pretty long video, but the truth is I've never been more excited for a phone or for tech in general. So I really just wanted to bring this video and, bring my thoughts to light, get some people, learning a little bit about foldables, understanding they exist, what they're good at, what they're bad at. I'm truly just enjoying using this phone quite a lot. Now, after setting it up, I am really happy I bought it, even though it isn't perfect. There were some moments when I thought maybe I should have just stayed with a normal phone. A normal phone does have their advantages. Sometimes having the extra width is really good without having to have a large screen. Still sort of one-handable extra width is pretty nice. Even though it looks huge in your pocket. I can say it was really weird to grab my S22 Ultra to start recording this video. And, feeling it in my hand, it's very different. This feels more comfortable. I feel more secure. Everything's in my hand. I have kind of like some extremity to spare to grab onto it. The S22 Ultra or, large, normal sized phones are just, I don't know, it feels different. It feels like you're reaching the limit of what a hand can grip. So, now once again, I always wish the price were lower, especially since they didn't add any real big changes for the Fold, from the Fold 4. Just the flatter folding, new processor, And that's mostly about it. There might be some screen stuff in there, you know, the 1750 nits of brightness, but never really needed that. The truth is, it's a great phone. If you're considering or kind of ready to give folding phones a try, go ahead. I give full recommendations to anyone who's willing to try stuff out. If you're more conservative, if you want to just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, then just keep using the other phones. I personally got insurance for this phone. I got Samsung Care Plus just because I can only assume that if the inner display breaks, it's going to be, you know, more than $1,000 to repair it. So with Samsung Care Plus, it's around like $200, I believe. And with the version I got, my phone can even get stolen and I can get a replacement for around the same price. Correction, with the screen, it's about like $27. I'll put a chart on the screen, hopefully, just to show some of the pricing, but it's honestly pretty solid. I got the insurance just to feel comfortable using the phone without, you know, being afraid of it. And well, the last thing I want to tell you guys is a small coincidence, a happy coincidence I found, is that I started to get techie, or, you know, I started to get involved with technology and loving it with the Note 5. And well, I found it quite coincidental. I only realized until after I bought the phone. I found it quite nice that I bought the Note, or the Fold 5 this time. So I don't know. I thought it was nice. 5th generation in, I think I was ready to give it a try, and I haven't regretted it yet. So I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and have a great day.